Hello, Monday. This is going to be a tricky presentation for me to present today because I vaguely know where I'm going to go and also, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. So I'll start with this and we'll just see how we go on. This is the, oh bugger, can't remember which it is. Is it, it's the Mulgari? Harvard, is it? Harvard. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Monday. This is going to be a tricky presentation for me to present because I think I know where I want to go, but I don't know how I am going to get there. I've only got 3 clips, I think, in the presentation because the presentation isn't so much about the clips, it's just to give me stepping stones for me to say what I want to say. So this opening one is the Harvard, isn't it? It's Harvard, Mulgari. So Leonardo Mulgari obviously works at Harvard, has put out this big PDF study thing of the geopolitics of energy project, all about oil, the next revolution. I'll move on to this chart, which is, I've just cut it in there on the snip. It's page 1, and basically this shows that he has calculated from the new finds of oil and his proposed way that they're going to get the production out of those finds in the future, calculated against, down in red, the depletion rate that is going to be from the old fields, that there is going to be a plus 17.6 million barrels a day increase by the year 2020, something like that. Now, to my mind, the whole thing, and I must admit I got so annoyed with it I couldn't get to the end of it. I didn't like it at all, but I don't have enough brain power, knowledge, to, let's say, tear it apart, rip it apart, analyze it correctly, because I'm not an oil specialist. It's not my specialist subject. But I did not like the feel of it at all. It didn't feel right to me. Okay, so I'll move on from here to my Twitter feed, which is the last link I'm going to do, last picture up. Start at the bottom of this because it's at the top of it I want to get to. I'm just going to go up through these and might trip my brain to say something. Megan Green, who you've probably come across because she's always on the television apparently. Her Twitter feed always seems to be saying that she's on BBC or CNBC or wherever. She's always on the television. Asmussen, that means she's at a conference, and this chap Asmussen, who I vaguely know, but I won't go into that. Those who think banking license for the ESM will fix things are thinking in superficial terms. Now, I could do an entire presentation on that, on the people that want the ESM, and if you don't know what that is, I'll be speaking to you later, should have a banking license. And I've talked about it in the past, how embarrassing it would be to give the ESM a banking license because somewhere along the line they would have to explain, well, what's a banking license? What's the advantages? What's it all about that the bailout fund for the Euro people needs a banking license? And it's a wonderful subject, that banking license idea. Okay, leave it aside. Mark Thomas, who I'm thinking of unfollowing because his links can be a bit boring for me. They don't grab me. So for me, he's on his way out. But because they're normally too academically economic. But he's obviously at a different type of conference. Observations of the Standard Model of Cosmology by Brian Schmidt. I think he's at a conference as well. Discovered acceleration expansion of the universe. Good talk so far, etc. Okay, not really interested. Megan Green still in the conference room tweeting away on one of her mobile bits of equipment. Ownership is a key factor in the success of these programs. It was government policies that got Greece where it is, not the program. Now, what actually is being said here is the program is the Troika, IMF, ECB and EU forcing on Greece some conditions for the bailout monies that they are receiving. That's the program, and saying that it was the last 2 decades, let's say, of Greek government policy that got them where they were. But the important thing for here and for this presentation for me is ownership is a key factor. Now, it's a key factor in Greece, it's a key factor in most everything. The Greek government and the Greek people have to take ownership, basically responsibility for what is going on. And when they do, they will knit together and get something done. But as long as you do not think you've got ownership of something and you're just pointing fingers at other people that you say, well, they did it, or they did it, or they should do this, or they should do that, it's very hard to get something done. You have to get in and get involved and be part of it and build something that can do something. Ownership. Okay, and up to Grigor, the one I got, Grigor MacDonald. Now, I've generally, when I quote Grigor, I say that I think he's wonderful because he does what I think is necessary. And this particular quote is money managers. So he's talking to money managers. Pay close attention to public reaction to the Harvard Mogheri oil study. Okay, that's the study that was linked in clip 1. 99 parrot, same, embrace, 1% can evaluate. What he's saying is 99% of, let's say, media, people, all people, but, you know, really we're talking about the media because the media is there to translate technical stuff into a language that people can understand and, you know, put it out there to the people. But what Grigor is saying, watch out, money managers, because what is being dispersed is 99% just parroting and embracing what the Mogheri Harvard study is saying without evaluation of it. Grigor, has evaluated it and found it to be lacking. But most people aren't capable of doing that evaluation, so they just parrot it. And they parrot it especially because it's kind of good news-ish. It's optimistic. It's fine and dandy. When it's difficult, the presentation is more difficult. Okay, now I'll leave those aside and move on to me. I had a good think last night, as in a thought, but I don't think we're going to get to it. I was thinking of making a special video on it. It's part... It can be kind of introduced to here, because what I think we have are people that basically, most people, go through life trying to do the minimum possible. And they get a bit of a buzz from doing the minimum possible. They get their life, which generally, most all of our lives, are pretty damn good. And a lot of people get a little buzz, quite a big buzz, from actually thinking, I do almost stuff all and get all this. That's a buzz from that angle into life. Now, I wanted to do an entire philosophical presentation on that, which obviously would have made more sense of it when I'd gabbled on for 15 or 20 minutes. But what we have here in Over the Peak and me presenting things and reading comments and basically getting the vibe of what's going on, we're down to 300 people generally watching Over the Peak presentations. I would say about 250, 280 maybe are basically just stealing information. They are doing the absolute minimum possible. It's the how can I say it? It's like I'll go it from the other angle of the 20 or 50. And you can tell, I can tell from the comments, the people that are putting together their own picture of what is happening in the world. They are working to making a picture of what's happening in the world. And me and other OTP information is used, it's selected and used as part of making that picture. And I think that's wonderful. It's the opposite, it's on the other side from I'm doing the minimum and I'm getting all this. There are other people that go through life doing a lot of things, just, you could even say, just for the pleasure of it. They like to put the effort in to create things. And often these people create things and then give, or their creation is a giving thing, where most people in life are not creating, they're just taking. So I think we've got about 250, maybe 280 of the 300 people watching over the peak who are just taking. Basically, it's kind of, I know what I think's going on, and it's very minimalistic, and it's not changing. It's not changed by what I say. It's not really changed by what happens in the world, what's on the news. It doesn't really change. It's more likely to change if a friend down the pub says something. Their little sound bites of information might change, but basically not much changes at all. They're not trying to create any sort of picture of what's going on in the world. They're just doing the minimum and trying to get the maximum. It's more, well, Mystic will keep an eye on it. If the shit's really going to hit the fan, he'll tell me. That sort of thing. And then if there's any clever things that I can say, if you even listen enough to pick up on clever things, I can use those down the pub and seem wise and intelligent and really on the ball. But there's no real picture being created. This is the main point that I'm trying to get over. Most people aren't trying to create a picture. All they're doing is the minimum to get the maximum. But there are the few, 20 might be 50, that are trying to really get a grips to this and creating their own picture. And by creating their picture and working on their picture, are giving to the world, and they're giving type people, because creating a picture is more than a selfish act. I can't explain that, I'm afraid, but I see it as more than a selfish act. And I just see it from other people that when they've created this thing, they're not creating it just for themselves. They're trying to create it to explain it, yes, to themselves, but then to try and explain it then to other people to help in the world. So what I'm trying to get to now is to ask, obviously, it's very tricky because I'm asking the 20 or 50 to comment, and that means that they would have to be self-selecting themselves as self-creating picture people, to say, how can I better help you? And how can I really let drop the people who are just basically takers? I've given it a small amount of thought, and I don't know how I can separate out the information so I can put out more information that's useful for the creators and givers, and I just don't care about the takers, who basically have their own idea, silly little ideas basically, and aren't affected by what I say anyway, so they can just drop off. But I would like to keep in communication with the fewer amount of people that are trying to create their own picture. So I suppose what I'm saying is, don't reply to this particular video, but in future try and make more comment replies and interact a bit more, to get me to do more things for you. I normally here try and finish things off by linking back to the presentation. Grigor MacDonald, absolutely. I could maybe make a list of people that I really believe in that are trying to give, trying to create a picture and give. Maybe that is something that I can do. Yeah, that's something I can do. So if you can think of other things that I can do, like I can give you links to Grigor. I don't think I'd give you a link to Megan Green because I think she's just a bit pushy. I think she's a very bright bunny, and I keep an eye on her, but I can see I keep an eye on her in a kind of a selfish way. Nothing's going to go on, and Megan won't know about it. But the sort of person I'd invite round for tea would be Grigor. I would not invite Megan round for tea, or Mark Thomas. So I'll try and make a list of people that I would invite round for tea and introduce it somewhere probably on the right-hand side of the site. So that's something I can do, and if there's anything else I can do, just drip it into me in the future, and we can sort these things out together. Yeah. So no hurry, we'll get it done.